enough for the whole damn crew.
So one of the hardest things about working with volunteers is being a good mentor. It puts a lot of pressure on you because you just want to do the best that you can for your students and for these people, often younger people than you, looking up to you. Not always though. Sometimes your volunteers may be older than you and have more experiences that you can actually learn from. And so it's really important on being a mentor is that while you're giving your experience and your advice and your perspective, you're also really open to receiving feedback and learning from your volunteers or your mentees as well. And so one of the most important things that we can do as mentors is really create a solid outline for ourselves on how much we're willing to give, how much we're willing to share, what our time frame looks like to be able to share and to teach and to reflect with your students, with your interns, your volunteers, apprentices, etc. And so it takes a lot of self-reflection to make sure that you can do it, and to know that you also have expectations that are going to be put on you by your students, your volunteers, your mentees. One of the really important things that I find in being a good mentor is making sure that I would never ask someone to do something that I wouldn't do myself. And so whether you're mentoring or just managing your volunteers, you have to make sure that you're willing to get down and dirty with them, that you're willing to go and do the exact same job at any given time that you're going to ask them to do within your own capacity. You may bring a volunteer in who has a specialty in something. Maybe they're specialists in working with COB. And in that point, sometimes even though they're volunteering, they actually become a mentor to you, and that you're going to be learning from them. And so there's always a reciprocal exchange happening between you and your volunteer, you and your student. And so when we get down and dirty, again, that means like you're willing to go and do the hard work with them. You're willing to show them and work alongside with them for an extended period of time until they really understand what's happening. And then what that does by you getting down and dirty, I like using that language, is it shows your volunteer that you're on the same level as them, that you're not above them, that while you are their mentor or their manager, you're not placing yourself in a hierarchy that is, the person who only works their finger. You want to be working your whole body and your mental energy right along with your volunteer. One of the other really important things as a mentor is really being open to listening and accepting feedback, and that's also really, really hard. And you might find yourself resistant at first, and like falling into your pattern and pushing back and reacting in a way that you find it easy to react. And so by really listening and accepting feedback from the volunteers' experience, and also from their perspective, because their perspective and their experience is their reality, and all of their realities and experiences are also true and valid. And so it's really important to see different perspectives on your project and to listen. And maybe you do feel that resistance, and maybe you do feel like I don't want to take their feedback, and that's okay, but it's really important to hear it, take note of it, see where they're coming from, because it could enrich your project and it could make the systems work better. It could help the next volunteer when they come in. And so creating for yourself, which you're also going to find in your handouts, is something like a SWOT, which is reflecting on strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and looking at what were the strengths of the project, or the strengths within myself, and the strengths within this volunteer, the weaknesses, the opportunities, the threats, etc. And that's going to help you to grow your project and really help it to mature and be able to receive other volunteers or other students. And then for you as the mentor, really humbling yourself to put yourself in the student role and see like what is their perspective and how can I learn better from this so I can be a better mentor in the long run. What's really important as well with accepting feedback, and this is one of the principles of permaculture, is also being willing and open to changing, and not trying to always force the function of how we think our project should be, or how we think that specific job or that specific system should work. Again, because if it's only us working on it all the time, maybe it works for us, but if you're bringing in volunteers, there's different learning styles, there's different experience levels, there's different cultural backgrounds, different languages even, that are all gonna work within the system, within your project in a different way. And again, that adds diversity. And one of our other principles of permaculture, integrate rather than segregate, and use and value the diversity of the volunteers that are coming in. Again, they're just going to make your project better, and they're going to, that's going to ripple out. And so, like the volunteer, when we think about, like we talked about in the first segment, is, what is the niche that they fill? They're also, pollinators and dispersers when they leave your project, and what they learned from you and from your project is going to ripple out into their family units, into their friends, into their peers and colleagues, and into their community, which is going to have a ripple effect back on you. And so you really want to make sure that it's a positive experience. And then even if the volunteer didn't work out, really making sure that the exit that they have from your project is a positive one, and that you guys sat and you had dialogue and you listened to what they had to say, and they listened to what you had to say in a very nonviolent way. And so learning something, nonviolent communication techniques and those kinds of things are helpful in making sure that even if it doesn't work out, the transition is smooth from when your volunteer comes in to when they leave, and making sure that they leave happy. It doesn't have to mean that you're sacrificing all of your energy to make your volunteers happy, but it's that they have a positive and an enriching experience as well. So this is Samara Eds. Samara has volunteered with Punta Mona twice now for extended periods of time. She's from the UK, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her story and what brought her here, why she chose specifically to volunteer in this location, and what keeps her coming back.
So I'm originally from the UK, but I've travelled a lot of places all over the world, and the Caribbean is somewhere I feel very at home. Been living on a boat in the charter industry, which was very much the opposite lifestyle to here. Buying food from all over the world, no consciousness about the planet or thinking about where your food comes from. There was no nutrients in the food or anything, so that's when I was like, okay, I want to get back to the soil, back to the land. And I was looking to do a permaculture design course somewhere in the world. Part of me wanted to go all the way to Australia to go and meet Jeff and get back to where it was originally started, but I was in California, and a lot of people were talking about Punta Mona, and I'd heard about it on blogs, and it was a calling, and came here for the first time and was like, yeah, okay, I'm going to commit to 6 months because I wanted to really learn as much as I could. And that was a year ago. And I left for 6 months and was wanting to come back to do the medicinal workshop, Medicines from the Edge. And then since then, every time I come back, I just feel so much more alive, and this is where I need to be at the moment. It's amazing to just eat the food that you pick, and you cook it, and you just inspires you, not just the food, but the environment, the people, you guys. It's inspirational.
Nice.
It really is.
And so do you feel it's been a mutually beneficial relationship?
Definitely.
I think so too.
Definitely, and the more and more I stay here, the more I learn, and the more I just want to stay longer and learn more. Yeah, what you guys are doing is exactly what I want everyone in the world to be doing, and I want to be a part of it. We're
coming to the end of our segment here on volunteering and mentoring. Make sure to read through your materials, and you have your quizzes and your essay questions. I also provided you with a whole bunch of links. Make sure to check out puntamona.org for volunteer opportunities here in Costa Rica. There's also a ton of other really great projects all over the world. It was really fun researching different projects for you guys to check out globally in every single continent. And coming up next, we're going to have Loretta Buckner talking about the design behind the design, and so the kind of teaching philosophies behind permaculture. So thank you, everyone.
And she likes dance for the railroad men. Sometimes one, sometimes two. Sometimes enough for the whole damn crew. But the chicken,